Sure, and our science tells us that if a behavior is increasing, something is reinforcing it.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you say that one more time?
Sure.
It's for my audience to know, I write everything down, and that's something I want to write down. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry experts and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my ABC co-host, Nathan Palmer.
Always glad to be here, Brad. Seriously, these are fun, and I can't think of a better way to spend my afternoon.
Well, and
or morning, whatever time it is.
Whatever time we want to record, it doesn't matter. But we're talking about the ABCs of behavior today, and the best person that can teach us and guide us through this journey is Rachel Crupi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
We are so excited to have you back on our show. You did such a good time last time. We had to bring you back.
Did we? I don't remember. Did we disclose Rachel's nickname at Polaris Academy? Did we get into that on the last podcast?
We need to do it again. It is worth saying.
Because it's not just Miss Rachel Crupi, BCBA. We have Heavy Metal Poppins with us on the podcast today. And if you've never met Rachel, it's because she is like the Mary Poppins. She has that smile and bring sugar to everything you do kind of personality. But we learned not only does she run marathons, she does it listening to heavy metal
all the time.
Yes.
And your favorite band is?
Falling in Reverse.
Falling in Reverse? Oh, man.
That sounds like something my son would do.
Oh, boy.
Wow. See, I know that's one thing I like about Rachel is that she's super structured, but edgy. I love it. So, yes. So, Metal Poppins, thank you so much for being here. You're the Director of Behavior Services for Polaris Academy and Starlight Behavior Academy, and you have 3 wonderful boys, and one went to college. And tell us a little bit about where he's at.
He's in Duluth, Minnesota. He's playing baseball at St. Scholastica.
Nice, yeah. And
yeah, he's a freshman.
That's exciting. That is super exciting. And then you have another son playing baseball too.
He's a senior.
And he's at what school?
He's at Santan Charter.
Santan Charter. All right. I know it was funny. My boy played Santan Charter
Yes.
at our school, and there was so much. Let's just say Santan likes to be really vocal.
Yes, that we are known for that. Yes.
That would be Heavy Metal Poppins.
Yeah.
Brad.
You just see Heavy Metal Poppins like, go and get them.
You know, my son that plays baseball, he also plays soccer, and we're playing your school this fall or winter for
That's
soccer.
awesome. Oh, that's cool. I love sports and I love competition.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I love about Rachel, she brings a great energy, as you can tell. She's an expert and has a great sense of humor all around the classroom. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about the ABCs of behavior, but we're going to twist it a little bit, right? Like twisted metal.
Yeah, there you go.
And
well, let's explain it first before we twist it so we don't twist up our listeners. So, Rachel, what are the ABCs of behavior? Because that's a kind of an ABA or applied behavior analytics term, right?
Yes, that's correct. So before I dive into that, I just want to touch on what is behavior real quick. So behavior is pretty much any action or response that somebody provides. Behavior is a form of communication. So first and foremost. So the ABCs is a tool that someone like myself might use to get a snapshot in time of what is surrounding that behavior that we're observing.
Okay, so hang on. You just said something that's actually really deep. And I think I think we had another episode that somebody said something similar. Behavior is a form of communication.
Yes, that's correct.
And sometimes, listen, as a parent, my kids, well, I guess I behave too, but they behave, quote unquote, all the time. And I don't often think of communication except for one way, me to them, to stop behaving the way they are. Right. But you're saying we need to be communicative in our, not just our dialogue, but in our actions.
That's right.
Cool.
I mean, all of us do some form of behavior that is some form of communication, just might look different. And so if you are communicating using your vocals and you're telling somebody how you feel. But our kids and even ourselves can exhibit behaviors and forms of shouting or aggression or withdrawal or sadness that might look different for each and every one of us. But in a way, we're all trying to communicate and trying to get access to our needs and what we need for ourselves or what we're trying to get out of things. And it's how we can identify that and then how we can support that for everybody, including ourselves as the parent, as the educator, as a provider, on how to work with everybody to get everyone's needs met.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. So then so you talk about how an ABA behavior is a snapshot of time.
So the ABCs is kind of like a snapshot in time, right? Mm-hmm. So it stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. And so what we're looking at when we talk about ABCs is literally that snapshot in time. Of course, there might be setting events or things that happened earlier in the day, or maybe the weeks leading up to it that might be happening in that person's life or environment. But ABCs is right then and there. So when that behavior happens, what happened right before, which is the antecedent or the A, then the behavior itself, and then the consequence is what happens right after. What response was given, what happened in that moment. And that's what we're looking for. When we can learn what the ABCs are, what that does is it gives us information to try and figure out the why that behavior is occurring.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great explanation. Mm-hmm. Can I talk about the twist now?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Brad. Let's twist it up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we want to twist this a little bit.
Sure.
And the focus is yes, we use this technique for the kids,
yes,
as in BCBA and RBT or to help with our child, but the twist is more on the parent.
Yes.
So now we wanted to say, okay, what is our ABC? Now you said a really cool phrase a while ago that we want to regulate before we co-regulate.
Right.
So let's talk about that. What does that mean?
Okay, so going back to this is kind of focusing on the C in the ABCs, right? How are we responding? How are we reacting to a behavior when we are that caregiver? Again, whether you're the parent, caregiver, educator, we need to make sure that we are regulated ourselves so that we are in a position to co-regulate. If we are responding in a way that is very direct or it's causing that other individual's behavior to go the way that we're not really looking for, we have to be mindful of how we're present, how we are feeling, and how we are addressing certain behaviors, because we could be, as parents, either unintentionally reinforcing a behavior.
Right.
Because if the function was attention and we're upset now and we're giving all of this attention to the child, as the parent, we need to be aware of how we are responding. Mm-hmm.
So let's decode that a little bit, because we just threw out a whole bunch of
Yes,
acronyms and processes.
Yes.
So what?
Yes.
Give me an example of like ABC in a child. So any kind of circumstance, and identify each piece so that we can kind of put those together.
Sure. So let's say you are on the phone and your child is trying to get your attention. And how they're trying to get your attention is they're screaming or they're crying to get your attention. And you respond with...
So the goal is, the underlying goal is attention. We'd call that like the function, right?
That's the function,
So what's the A, the B, and the C?
Sure. The antecedent here would be you're on the phone, they want your attention. The behavior is crying, and the C is how you respond to them. So if every time your child cries for you and you respond with giving attention, then that child has learned, I can cry to get your attention.
And that creates a new habit.
And
Yes.
that's where you're talking about behavior as a language. They've learned that
Yes.
to get this thing,
Correct.
this is the language I use to extract it.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we've determined after looking at some patterns of what those snapshots are, if we can identify that my child cries to get my attention, then we've identified, okay, this is the function of that behavior. So when I'm responding, any attention is attention. But if the function is attention, and then when they cry, you're like, oh, honey, stop crying. It's okay. Da, 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 da. You are, in a way, unintentionally reinforcing the crying behavior.
Interesting.
But if as the adult or the caregiver is dysregulated, and we're like, I said not right now, or give me 5 more minutes, and we come back with a tone that could maybe potentially further dysregulate everybody, that child is also getting attention. So whether or not you're calmly saying, oh, I need you to wait 1 more minute, versus I need 5 more minutes, however you're saying it, they're getting attention for it.
Sure.
And so how we are present in that moment and how we navigate that with our child is going to determine if that behavior is going to continue to increase, or can we teach that child how to maybe get our attention differently. It's kind of either way.
Okay, now listen, as a parent, I'm instantly feeling like this aha moment as well as insanely overwhelmed.
Yes.
Right? Because we react to our kids.
Sure.
And we're the C, the consequence or reaction
Yes.
to our kids
Yep.
all the time in
Yes.
so many circumstances. And you're literally breaking it down in like this scientific approach.
Yes.
But ABA typically isn't exercised in a parent-child relationship, correct? I mean, it's more in a clinical setting.
Sure, but our goal is to generalize it to the home. So when we're in a clinic setting, we are creating and working through and taking data on how the child is able to learn this new skill. And so at the end of the day, we do a lot of parent collaboration and parent training. So how we're doing it in the clinic, we want it to be able to get generalized to the home. So in this case, if you told me that this was your situation, you took ABC data, right? You try to get your snapshot on why is my child crying when they want my attention, and it keeps happening, or it's getting worse. One of the first things I'm going to say to you is, okay, well, how else can we teach your child to get your attention in maybe a different way?
To reinforce a different
Correct.
behavior.
We need a replacement. We need to teach them the skill, especially for our youngest learners, right? To them, they just need mom or dad or whoever in that moment. They maybe don't have some of those skills yet to be able to wait or how to even gain attention the way that they need it. And so that's where we can come in.
So then that makes sense. So then let's do now the twist. What are the ABCs from the parent perspective in that same circumstance?
So in that circumstance, the antecedent would be crying. My child is crying. Our behavior needs to be that replacement behavior. And then the consequence on the side of it will be us reinforcing.
That's on now the child side.
the
We're
child's
creating and
right.
reinforcing
So
this.
now we're going to reinforce that replacement behavior, and that's the consequence. So the consequence is the response.
Got it.
Right? So a lot of times when people hear consequence, they think it's something bad.
Right, something.
That's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about what happens right after the behavior. And in this case, child's crying, that's the antecedent. We give and prompt our replacement behavior, and then we reinforce it by modeling and showing them how they can get our attention differently.
And maybe this is a simple question, but you use the word replacement behavior.
Yeah.
Why that? That, to me, I feel like I did something, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I did something wrong, now I'm replacing this.
Right.
Is that what that means?
No,
Or?
it's just, this is the way that, this is the behavior that we see right here, but we want to replace it with maybe a more socially
Gotcha.
appropriate
Okay.
way. And sometimes our kiddos don't know how to do that. hence why they cry to get that need met. They don't necessarily always know how else to get it. And so we need to be the ones to work them through that moment and give them that tool. I see you really need me right now. You could say, Mom, or tap me on the arm,
Right.
or a different way other than screaming and crying to get my attention.
You know, and you said a word earlier, motive, right? Which is the underlying, why are they doing this thing? And in that technical word we use, functions of behavior, and which really just means, why am I doing what I'm doing? But that's an interesting question, because on the parent side, I think sometimes we just react.
Yes.
Right? But then I have to ask, what's my motive? If I'm telling my kid, hey, leave me alone, what would you say the motive is on the parent side? The kid wanted attention. What about the parent?
So to me, that screams that they want to avoid it. They need space.
Right.
Maybe they're not regulated. Maybe they've had a really long day. And by them feeling that way and reacting that way, in a way that parent is saying, I'm not ready, or this is too much, I need a break. That's what that screams to me.
Yeah.
And so it kind of goes back and forth, right? If we're regulated first, we're in a better place to work our child through those harder moments. And as a parent, it is sometimes, we're human. And depending on what we have going on, it is sometimes easier to just say, okay, fine, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just, even though they're engaging and maybe crying or whatever behavior we're talking about, it is sometimes easier as the parent to just say, okay, fine, go ahead and do that thing. I'm not going to argue about it. It's easier. So it's a path of least resistance.
And exactly. And that's, I think that's kind of why I wanted to shine a light on that.
Yes.
Because I think it's a question we don't ask enough. It's really easy as a parent to go, oh, I need to show you, I need to direct you. Our underlying motive might be, I want a child that doesn't scream and cry all the time. But then I have to ask myself, am I doing the thing that helps or harms that?
Right.
Because really my reaction is reinforcing
Correct.
the crying.
Right.
And I have to take a hard look at myself. What am I wanting? And
Yes.
am I really acting in support of that thing that I really want, right? It's an internal look instead of just reacting to our children.
Exactly.
Well, and that's a great point. Like, we are so, as parents, like, we want to react. And that's why we were so excited to have you here, Rachel, to talk about how can we be more proactive.
Yes.
You know, I think being self-aware in moments is one of the greatest attributes to have. And that's so hard to do, to be present. You know, we're always thinking about the next thing or something that we, like you said, maybe I had a bad day.
Right.
Now I'm thinking about work. I'm at home, you know, and now I see this, you know, I see this negative behavior and, you know, I'm just going to react to it. I'm going to give you what you want. I'm not even thinking about, you know, what that leads up to. And then you're wondering, hey, how come my child keeps doing the same thing? Well, it's because in a way I'm allowing that. And I haven't really addressed that because I've been avoiding it.
Sure. And our science tells us that if a behavior is increasing, something is reinforcing it.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you say that one more time? You know, it's for my audience, you know, I write everything down, and that's something I want to write down. That's
if a behavior is increasing, something is reinforcing it.
It's like one of those Newtonian laws. I mean, you know, what goes up must come down. If a behavior is increasing, something's reinforcing.
So
That's a great point.
This is a signal to the parent, to yourself, if you're that parent, to be like, wow, this behavior keeps happening. It's almost a time for reflection. Looking at the
it's not just
ABCs.
yell at them stronger. I mean,
Right, no. Because if its attention is the function, guess what? You're regardless, it got reinforced.
well, and I always come from, you know, I come from coaching a little bit, so we always have that saying, what you permit, you promote. In a way, that's kind of like that. It's like if there's a behavior or something, then there's something that's reinforcing it.
Yeah, and listen, not to beat a dead horse, but I really think having a roadmap in a sense, right? How to make sense of a situation and how to break it down is really important. So like we just did the phone example, which I don't think a parent would have normally looked at it, well, hey, they're not just being annoying, they're wanting attention. I'm giving it to them in some form, and so they're going to do it again and again and again. What's another common example you might see that we can do an ABC analysis on just to kind of shed some light?
Sure. And this could go for really any age of child. Hey, I need you to clean up your room.
Oh, I do that all the time. Okay, what am I doing wrong?
But you're
Because they
not,
don't clean their room.
but Nathan, you got to clean your room.
So let's break it down. So first, let's talk from the child's perspective, like the ABCs on the child side, right? The antecedent is the instruction, clean your room. The behavior, depending on what that looks like, what does it look like when you tell your child to clean up?
Everything but cleaning their room.
So they're avoiding.
Okay, yes.
So that I already know the function of this behavior, right? It's escape and avoidant behavior because they don't want to clean their room, right? So then how do you respond? What is the C?
I double down.
You double down. Okay. Do you prompt them to clean their room? Like, do you follow through with cleaning?
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, the reason why I say that.
I just love, guys. Hey, everybody, we are now doing a deep dive on Nathan's parenting skills.
I'm trying to make it super relatable.
Well, I'm honestly trying to think through. Sometimes I might try to put a reward, like, okay, well, if you do it, but then I feel like I'm bribing and they expect it the next time. Sometimes it's just, hey, this is something you just should do. I shouldn't have to reward. I mean, there's frustration, I think, on all sides, right?
Okay.
And sometimes it does happen, but more often than not, it doesn't.
So this is very relatable, I think, to every parent out there. But it's how you're responding, right? And if they continue to avoid cleaning their room, the more you ask them to, like as time goes on, then however you're responding is reinforcing the escape behavior.
Gotcha.
So if that behavior is not increasing, then it might be in an effective way that you're responding to them.
Sure.
So let's say, just for the sake of this conversation, the next time you ask them to clean up, they engage in that same behavior. Let's say you were to be like, okay, well, I guess you can clean up later. And you actually reinforce them not cleaning up in that moment, right? So then the consequence there is you basically dropped the demand. You dropped the instruction and they didn't have to clean up.
They win.
Yeah, they win in a way, right?
And I guess I shouldn't think of it as win-lose, right? They learned that that response gets them out of cleaning their room.
Mm-hmm. So the function behind this is escape avoidant. Mm-hmm. Okay. But now as the parent, looking at now the antecedent for you is also now their escape behavior. The B for our ABC is what is our behavior to them. And then RC is how are we following up on that? So it kind of goes back and forth. So if you told your child, hey, it's time to clean up, and they said, nope, not doing it. And you said, okay, I guess you can do it later, and walked away, and that behavior is happening, you are reinforcing that behavior. But if you go in and you're like, okay, I said we're going to clean up right now. It's time to clean up. This is how we clean up. And you start helping them clean up and you follow through, the chances of them the next time cleaning up, when you ask them to clean up, they're going to be like, okay, because they've learned now when you say clean up, you're going to clean up. Even if that means we're helping them clean up, they're not able to escape or avoid the task.
Well, then how do you avoid a new behavior then of like now the child, because these kids are smart.
Of course.
Now mom's going to help clean up or dad's going to help clean up.
Mm-hmm.
That might lead to a new behavior.
It can.
So sometimes. How do you avoid that to where yes, you're helping them and you're kind of following through with that behavior, but then how do you kind of, in a way, take off the training wheels?
That's a great question.
When do you take off the training wheels and you're like, okay, like, you got to do this, bud?
So first and foremost, I like to tell people, if you're not ready to follow through with an instruction, don't place it. The worst time and place you could ever place an instruction or a demand on a kiddo is when you're in the car and you're driving. There's no way you can follow through with anything.
Sure.
Right? And
unless
so,
I'm going to turn this car
around.
Right.
Like that's your classic. You're grounded for a year.
But then
Are
you have to
really?
be willing to turn the car around,
I know.
right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
you're like, dang it, I'm late. I can't do it.
So first things first, let's make sure it is a time and a place where you're ready now. Consistency is where it pays off.
Okay.
Right? You're teaching when I let you know it's time to clean up, we're cleaning up, and all these things. Ideally, you may have to help them in the beginning But as time goes on, they're going to just start cleaning up more and more and more. There's other preventative strategies that you can use to help set them up before you even ask them to clean up, right? And we can get into some of those strategies here in a little bit.
Would it be fair to say that really what we're talking about is pattern recognition?
Yeah, it's
right?
Definitely. It's consistency.
Gotcha. And so we're going, hey, I need to either break the old pattern or reintroduce a new one.
Yes.
And maybe instead of asking them to clean the room, I give them a choice. Would you like to clean it now or this afternoon?
100%.
And see,
It's
and I was
how you
actually going to
present
say that
it.
same
Yes,
thing. Like
exactly.
one thing for my boy that really works well, I don't know why, but it does. Now talking to you is like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I always say, hey
That's
Wes,
a
would you like
intervention.
to clean your room right now or in 5 minutes? And now he's always going to say 5 minutes. I already know that.
Of course.
So I do that because in a way, mentally, he's thinking, okay, my next transition is I got to clean my room.
The hardest ones to do is when it's a sudden thing that they have to do. If you're not priming them, if you're not giving them the heads up, in 5 minutes we got to clean up, or we're leaving the house in 10 minutes, and if it is more of a we're going right now, clean up, and they don't have the opportunity to even process what it is you're asking for, and if they're engaged in a fun activity, they're probably going to have some kind of behavior with that. The more we can prep the upcoming transition or the change or the instruction, how we're presenting it to them can make all the difference with how they respond to that. Where can you be flexible? Does it have to be right now? Can it be in 5 minutes? Can it be, hey, this is a lot. I know you're having so much fun. Dinner's in 5 minutes. Let me help you over here. Hey, who can clean up faster? And you can make it a game. It doesn't need to come as this like authoritative, I said do this, you do this. It doesn't need to come off that way. It can make it fun. You can make it engaging.
I love that. We just literally did a whole podcast on the importance of games, so I love that you're tying it in.
100%. It can make all the difference.
So going back to behaviors of language, right?
Yes.
That they're communicating something with their actions. And I don't know if we intended to go here or not, but I'm just going to go here.
Sure.
You mentioned like one of the motives might be attention. And in ABA, as I understand it, there's kind of, we call them the functions of behavior, but let's just relabel it. It's the motive. It's the why am I doing what I'm doing.
Correct.
And there's kind of a list of those. Would it kind of help to go through? So maybe our parents have a framework of, hey, which one of these do I think is behind this action?
Absolutely. So attention, we talked about that one.
Okay. And how many are there first before I...
There's 4.
There's 4.
I feel there should be 5.
Then let's do 5. Because
Why not 6? Let's just
I always lean to your expertise on this. So
Well, attention is definitely one. Escape or avoidance is the next one. That would be you ask them to clean up your room. They say no, and they run away or something like that. They're avoiding having to do whatever is being asked of them in that moment.
And can I play with that for a second? Because
Sure.
maybe, let's say, it is attention still. And so maybe
It can
by
be both.
avoiding, they're getting your attention because now... Okay, so it's the same behavior can have different
It can
underlying
have dual
motives to them.
functions. Absolutely.
Interesting.
And so the ABCs can help you identify which one it might be.
Got it.
Or it
So
could be both. Or all of them.
attention, escape, avoidance, what else?
It's called tangible, but what that means is access to preferred items or activities, or it could be denied access.
So
So it
games
has-
are like a really easy way.
Yeah,
like video
so
games.
like it could be they're wanting to play their game, and they're wanting access to it, so they're engaging in that behavior to get it. Or it's they were told, not right now, and it has been something that has been denied to them. It's still, they still want whatever that thing is.
Got
that
it. So
game.
there's something they're doing or something they
Yeah.
have that they would
They
like.
want access to something tangible.
Okay, so and that makes sense. My kids have that all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the middle of my game.
Yes.
They're not wanting attention or avoidance. They just want to finish the thing that they're okay. Got it. That makes sense.
And then the next one is sensory or automatic. This means that they might be engaging in a behavior and they don't need anyone else around. This is a behavior that would happen if they're all by themselves. Think of stimming is an automatic behavior. That's something internal. That's something that they will do whether or not, Nathan, you're in the room with me, Brad, you're in the room with me. If I'm stimming on something, I'll do that anywhere at any
what,
time.
What's stimming for those that might not know?
Sure. So stimming is kind of like a coping strategy. It's a way that individuals kind of help regulate themselves. We all have one.
It's kind of like when I
Yep.
crack my
There
neck
you
to the
go.
side or
I
take a
sway
deep
back
breath.
and forth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Deep breaths. You might see people click pens, tap things. I'll be at the grocery store in the lane, or if I'm just standing somewhere. To me, it's comforting. It's something that I enjoy. Or it could be a way that they express excitement. It is something that they enjoy and it works for them. And it's totally does not have anything to do with anything else around in their world. It is something that they like to do for them. And it can look different, for different individuals. Common stims could be rocking, hand flapping, humming, singing, scripting, like repeating phrases from something. It could be twisting hair, playing with hair, readjusting clothes constantly. We got tapping your leg, like when your feet are on the ground and you just kind of continuously tap your leg. We all have them.
See, and it's interesting because if you confuse that with avoidance, like I'm doing this thing to ignore you, when really it's about self-care,
Right.
then you're almost making the problem worse.
Correct.
So to the point, knowing the language is critical. Okay.
So if you can identify, maybe they are scripting something in their mind. Maybe they're not actually vocalizing what they're thinking. Maybe they're replaying a scene of their favorite show, for example, and they're having a great time with it. And sometimes you can see that when a child might be smiling and it looks like they're thinking about something and it's just kind of going through their mind. Well, if we're asking them to clean up, going back to that example, if they're in the middle of that, it's not fair to them because they may not have even have heard us.
Yeah, because they're still in their
Yes. And so how do
environment.
we approach our child then to kind of say, hey, how's it going? All right, cool. In 5 minutes, we need to clean up. Now you got their attention. Now it's fair to kind of place that contingency with them. But if you're across the house or you're in a totally different room and they're engaged in that behavior like that, they may have not even have heard you.
Yeah, so then getting excited or
Yeah.
yelling them afterwards,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like mom's just mad or dad's mad for
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because think about it. I called your name 5 times, but what were they doing? Did they even hear you in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? So.
And to be clear, these functions don't just apply to kids on the spectrum.
Oh, this
These
is
are
just-
universal
of course,
functions that
yes.
anybody uses, right? So to recap, we've got attention, we've got avoidance, like I just want to get away. I think we can all relate with that one. We've got
Tangible.
tangible, it's like the preferred thing. I've got this thing or this activity or that
person.
We have, I'll call it kind of self-care, focus on me. It's more internal. All right, so those are the 4, and you've got this magical
Yeah,
5th
5.
one, which
I'm ready for it. Can I do a drum roll? Is that what it is?
I know what it is, and
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. But if you'd kind of inform us, what's number 5?
Okay, world, here it comes.
Autonomy. I think someone's need for autonomy and how can they feel included and how can they be part of the decision and how can they feel that they are getting a say. Because when you have that person who's always like, do this, 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 and this, sometimes we see a behavior because they feel that they don't have control. They feel that they don't have a say. They feel that they don't get to choose. And for some people, that can elicit a behavior, right? It could turn into aggression. It could turn into property destruction. It could turn into crying or shutting down completely if they never feel that they have a choice. So you gave a choice to your son to clean up now or in 5 minutes. Now he can choose when he's going to clean up.
Right.
So you're giving him, in a way, some autonomy there because you're being flexible. Instead of saying, we're cleaning up right now, we're doing the thing, here we go. Some people need to feel heard. They need to feel that they had a say and that they had a choice in the matter. And sometimes you get more, for lack of a better term, buy-in to do a non-preferred activity if they feel they've had their say,
Yeah.
It's
that they were
interesting.
part of it.
You know, I almost have to
told me
wonder if maybe the reason that one's not on the list is because a lot of ABA is directed at younger kids.
Sure.
And younger kids instinctively have attachment, right? They're not autonomous. They want and need that reinforcement. But the older we get,
Yes.
it's like that's not a function that's maybe just inherent. That's one that develops. But absolutely, I think you're right on point that is a driving motive for a lot of behavior, especially as we get into those teenage years and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, I was just thinking about this, and this experience popped in my mind. So if I can share something.
sure.
When I don't know how this happened, but when I was a young father, I had a child. I read somewhere or somehow I heard something that it talked about, and maybe it's wrong, but it felt like it was right, that when you're born, you don't really have a lot of fears as like a young. They said the only thing that you naturally are born with is the fear of like falling in a way. So they said if your child is crying, one way that you can help them is give them control, and that's by having them squeeze your finger, just like a little baby holding onto your finger. And I kind of did that as a young father, and I noticed that it was a way that a baby can have control. So when you talk about autonomy, they want some type of control. Even at a young infant stage, you can still do that by having them just hold your hand, or you know what I mean? Just they grasp something. So I guess instinctively we have it, which is really neat. And now with the behavior, giving them choices, giving them options, now you give them that autonomy.
Well, it even goes as far as like when myself as a BCBA is working with a young child, we are teaching kind of those foundational skills, whether it's communication, it could be play, social, all these kinds of skills, right? They don't always necessarily have them, and we're there to help kind of work through it with different approaches and interventions. But as our kids grow, we also want to start shifting from I'm going to be modeling all of these things for you, and we move more into self-management. And we start to kind of allow and teach and reinforce when children are starting to self-advocate and they're starting to say, hey, this is okay, I have to clean my room. Can I do all the steps of cleaning my room? Do they first of all have all of the skills first? So when you tell your son, clean your room, does he know what that means? And is he able to do all of it? So as a parent, we need to almost manage our expectations, which is hard because sometimes we're like, I know you know how to clean your room. Why didn't you clean your room? Or why aren't you cleaning it this way? Maybe they didn't have the energy to clean it the way you wanted to.
Well, and
So I'm trying to go on a couple of things here,
but
but it's important to consider that shift.
Well, and you explained, and you kind of touched on it briefly. I think it's important to explain a little bit deeper. Do they know how to clean their room?
Correct.
There's a really
What
cool
is the
commercial a
expectation
while
here?
ago that was online. Is like a father yelling at their kid, "Hey, get on the sidewalk! Get on the sidewalk! Get on the sidewalk!" And the kid wasn't doing it. And then after the third or fourth time of the demand, the child looked at the parents as, "What's a sidewalk?"
Right.
Like the child didn't understand it.
Right.
And so your first thing, you're like, "Hey, you need to do this. Do you know what this means?"
Right. And so in ABA, we would say, stand on the sidewalk. This is standing on the sidewalk. And we would go in with a prompt. We would teach them, this is a sidewalk. This is what you do on a sidewalk. A sidewalk is a sidewalk, no matter if you're in this city or that city. You generalize it all over the place. So then in the future, when a teacher says, all right, class, walk on the sidewalk to go to the playground, they know to stay on the sidewalk because they've learned that that's what that means. And so sometimes as parents, I think whether or not your child is neurodivergent or not, sometimes we have to remember to manage our expectations.
Yeah.
Because we may think they know what that means. Maybe we weren't clear enough, or maybe we never actually told them how you wanted the room cleaned. Maybe company was coming over or family was coming into town and you wanted that room like super squared away. But maybe they just did the basics and you walked in and you're like, this room is still a mess. You know how to clean your room. Did they know the expectation?
And even deeper than that, do they know when is it they're supposed to clean? Is
Right.
it only when I ask them to?
Right.
Right. And
some self-management skills.
Yeah. And I love
Yeah.
what you said, something as simple as engaging with them, modeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's time to clean, and we're cleaning, not
Correct.
I want you to clean.
Yes.
Shifts it from compliance to engagement. And now we
Exactly.
can gamify it or do all these other things that help to
Mm-hmm.
give some, release some of that tension and just make it a fun moment.
Sometimes, children don't know how to say, I need help. And so by modeling, it takes that away.
Well, they don't know how to help, so they avoid.
Right.
That's an easy reaction.
And they can't say, help me, or I don't know how to do that. And so instead, right? So if we don't go in and model, by modeling, you're taking some of that, if they are internalizing some embarrassment or shame because they don't know how to ask for help, modeling is the best way to come in and just show them without them feeling any type of way that they didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, this is my mind spinning now because really the question I'm going to start asking is, okay, they're not cleaning their room. What are they trying to communicate?
Exactly.
Are they just wanting my attention? Are they trying to avoid? Is there some other preferred task? Are they taking care of themselves? Are they themselves triggered and they're not capable at this moment?
Right.
And if I'm hearing you right, depending on what that function or motive is, kind of dictates our follow-up response. And not just in words, but our reaction
Our
is
actions.
a return language.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
And
that-
asking ourselves,
yeah.
what's my motive?
Correct.
Okay.
And depending on what that is, that behavior that you would like to see not happen as much is either going to go up or it's going to go down. And so us being really aware of all of what you just said is really going to make a difference if we're going to see a change.
Got it. And so that really is the behavior analysis. So ABA, applied behavior analysis, really is, I'm going to call it language analysis, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's
The language of behavior. It's beautiful.
my head's spinning too. Just so everybody knows, everybody gets a pass on their first kid.
Yes.
We all get a pass
For
on
all
it.
the first childs out there, we're
We're
sorry
sorry.
for you. We
I
feel
think
for
about
you.
my oldest son, and I'm like, man, I really screwed that guy up. I'm sorry. He'll have to go on Oprah and say how bad his father was, and I'm like, it's my bad. But that's why we wanted this podcast, so like we can go over some really good language of behavior, like how to be a better parent and how to some tools and resources and understanding the language of behavior, because we don't really think about it that way. We just react, like we talked about earlier.
And I really want to stress it's all about connection first. So the more that you can do the ABCs, or you're aware of how you're responding, you're aware of if you're in a place where you're regulated enough to even co-regulate through a moment of cleaning up a room, we have to have that connection built with the child first, above anything else. In addition to like describing the functions of behavior through the science of ABA and kind of what that can hypothesize and tell us, we also can look at the child as a whole child and also look at their nervous system as well. Because going back to managing our expectations as a parent, if we can also understand where that child might be with their nervous system, meaning are they in a state where they're calm and they're ready to learn, or like the green zone, or are they moving into the red zone or the blue zone? If we know also where, if we can pick up on how that child is feeling, because we can't necessarily see it in the way that you can see and hear crying. You can't always see what's being kind of going on with their nervous system. So if one day you're like, hey, great job cleaning up your area or your room. That was so awesome. Let's go do XYZ. And maybe the next day they aren't able to do it. If you can also plug in not only the ABCs of what is the function of their behavior today, but also them as a whole person of how are they feeling right now? Where are they? Do they have the capacity today to do what they did yesterday? And there's so many things that can happen from the time a child wakes up to the time that they may have to clean that room again. Also being able to work with them and identify how we go in and approach it, if they're dysregulated already, or they don't have the capacity to clean the way they did the time before, what is our expectation now? Can we be more flexible? Where can we be more flexible? Or maybe we jump in sooner with modeling to have them feel that, okay, I know that this is a harder moment for you right now. It still needs to get done. I'm going to help you. Instead of coming in with why didn't you clean it the same
Guns
way?
a-blazing.
Yeah.
Why didn't you? It's easy to do that. It's very common, I feel, where people can tend to get frustrated with others if they're not performing or doing something the way that they did the day before the next day, without realizing that there might be more things going on than just the ABCs of behavior. So looking at it as a whole picture of how our job is to help them, meet them where they're at, and be able to, once you know the ABCs and you're applying and you're aware and you have all these things, now you can put it all together to best support the child in that moment with what they need. And I think that's the other side of it than just the ABCs.
I love it.
Cool. You know, it's funny. A lot of parents we meet, when we say that, you know, we've integrated this ABA approach into our academic model, you know, they have mixed emotions on it. Some people come in like they say, I hate ABA. I've heard these horrible things. Where does that come from? Because everything you're telling me sounds like not just a tool for kids on the spectrum. This is a tool for life. I mean, this is a tool in understanding general behavior as an adult, as a neurotypical person as much as neurodivergent. So where do you think this, you know, backlash or fear of ABA comes from?
Well, there is a dark history with compliance-based interventions dating back to the 1960s, 50s, and beyond. They've used different interventions in the past, like electroshock therapy is one.
Sometimes I want to bring that back to my kids.
I mean, there were some really just disheartening things that at the time, it was in the name of science, we're going to use this intervention. Our field has moved so much in a different direction. That's why we have an ethics code. That's why, you know, there's this shift in listening to autistic individuals that have gone through ABA therapy. It used to be very compliance-based. Gotcha. It wasn't child-led in any way. It was, I say this, you do this, you get this, which is a trial. It's data. But now it's
the strict, I give the mouse cheese model, and if not, I shock the mouse.
Correct. Yeah. And now we're looking...
But it sounds like that was a long time ago.
It was, too. However, there's still the approach of, hey, we're going to do this, and we are going to continue to prompt until we get the results that we're looking for. And in the past, I would say those in our field may not have looked at that individual as a person or thought about maybe what their nervous system was feeling. We did it anyway. And they didn't have that say. They didn't have that level of autonomy that we're trying to kind of work in now. We're trying to use, we're really big on assent and assent withdrawal. We want, when applicable, we want the caregiver or the individual to be able to say, yes, I want to do that intervention, or no, I'm not comfortable with that intervention. And it's working with the person and meeting them where they're at, instead of me being the authoritative person saying it's my way or the highway. Yeah. And that's what I feel maybe and I can't speak for them, but that's my interpretation, is they have felt they made me do these things that I did not want to do. I didn't have a say. I didn't get to express what I needed to, or they didn't meet my needs where I needed them. They thought they did, but for whatever reason, they felt that maybe they weren't being heard, Gotcha. Or their needs weren't being met. And so there has been a huge shift in our field. And
it sounds like a move from, I will teach you this language, versus I want to understand your language.
I want to understand, but also, what mode of communication do you prefer?
Right.
And which one do you want? We can meet you where you're at, and we can support that.
So with this evolving
Yeah.
process of ABA, when did you, in your opinion, like, and I know you're not a historian, but where did that big shift come from of, now we're going to meet you where you're at?
Yeah, I think over maybe the last 5 to 10 years, fairly recently.
So the criticism with ABA
Yeah.
is more of just a historic criticism of what they used to do.
Right.
The evolving aspect of ABA is new, exciting.
Yes, and self-advocacy is a huge piece where, I want to look at it as this. If you're an individual who needs someone to help you work through a moment, and you're working on communication or all of these things, if it's something you don't like, but you're scared to tell them, I don't like it, or you don't have the skill to tell them, I don't like it, if you're ever put in a position with an authoritative figure and you were taught, you do what I say, that can be a safety concern for females. It could be a safety concern for children that might be now in the presence of a new teacher, and maybe, or not necessarily even a teacher, just an adult anywhere. It could be someone that resembles a uniform where they have learned by learning community helpers that yes, this is who they are, but there's good and bad everywhere. And so when you are taught compliance and now you're put into an unsafe situation, if all you know is compliance, it does pose a question of, do they have the skill to advocate in that moment? Can they say, I'm not comfortable, I don't like that, please stop, no thank you, all these things, because they were taught it doesn't matter what they say, we're going to follow through with whatever it is we asked you to do. I guess is where I'm going with that. And so as our children, we're starting to be very aware and sensitive to that. And that's where autonomy comes in. And that's why working with the child and meeting them where they're at and giving them choices, giving them flexibility where possible, letting them tell us, teaching them functional communication to get their needs met without necessarily needing to engage in crying, property destruction, or self-injury type behavior. How can we help give them the tools so that they can learn to self-regulate, to self-advocate, and take that with them as they move through their journey?
Well, and
It's an
this
important skill.
thought keeps popping up of like, how do you do that? Well, by creating a good, positive environment.
Right. It starts with the environment.
Yeah.
It starts with the approach. It starts with the connection that you have with the child and with that family, right? If you just come in and just start telling somebody what to do, how would you feel if somebody came in here and started bossing you around and telling you have to do
I
all
don't know,
these
Nathan
things?
every day. He does it. It's been tough, guys. I'm glad you're telling them all this.
No, it's funny. I'm listening to this again. I've always got this parent optic, right? And so the irony is any parent wants their kid to be autonomous and independent.
Right.
But we have to ask ourselves, is my parenting style allowing that autonomy? Is it building that independence?
Yeah.
Is it reinforcing that, or is it reinforcing a compliance model?
Yes.
And again, that goes back to language. And it's because I could be a parent saying, I want my kid to be independent, therefore I will tell him the things to do so that one day he's independent. But it's the opposite, because my language is expressing, you're not autonomous, you're not independent, you are dependent on me, on the things that I do. So I think it's great advice. And Rachel, understanding it correctly, you're also a mom of a kid on the spectrum, right?
Yes.
So how has this shaped you as a parent?
Oh, tremendously. My son will be 22 in December, and he started ABA when he was 6. And for full transparency, my son didn't speak till he was almost 4. And he started with sign language and PECS, which are picture exchange communication systems. So like if he wanted juice, he would hand me a picture of juice. And then we taught him a sign for more, and he would sign more and hand me the juice. And then he started to be able to verbally communicate with me. So I had to learn very early on. I had to meet him where he was at with his communication. But I learned in the beginning more of that compliance-based ABA. And as he grew up and as life changes, right? And you kind of go through different phases of the tween years, teenage years, now he's a young adult, that approach is not very successful with him. And so learning more about how I need to make sure I'm including him in more things. Rightfully so. Just because he is autistic does not mean his value is any less or his say doesn't matter. I need to actually be encouraging him to talk with me more and include him more. He's now a young adult. Like, we just went through guardianship with him earlier this year. And my job now has changed to, what do you think about this? Does he have that skill yet? Maybe not. I need to make sure I'm modeling these things for him so he can get these skills. But I'm coming in at it with a different approach. Instead of, I said, do this right now, you need to do it right now, and I'm going to physically prompt you until you do that right now, which is like a more compliance-based approach. Now it's, hey, it's your laundry day. I had to teach him a task analysis. We broke down all the steps of doing laundry. I know he can do it now. And so it's like, okay, today's your laundry day. Just have it done before dinner. And he has all day to do it when he's ready to do it. And that approach for him, he doesn't see me anymore as mom's coming in telling me always what to do. Now I know what I need to do. I have some flexibility, and she's listening to me. And now he knows that if he is struggling, like, we got a new pod container, for laundry tabs, and he couldn't get the lid off, and he didn't do his laundry the other day. My old mom voice in me would have been like, why didn't you do your laundry today? You knew it was your laundry day, da 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 da. Now he can say, hey, I need help. I couldn't get it open. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Or can you show me how to open this?
That's a huge win.
It is a huge win. And it's like, that's what we want to reinforce. That's what I want to make sure I see increase. How I respond to that is everything. Because depending on how I respond as a parent, I might get a different reaction from him.
Yeah.
Right?
And even thinking about that, if we react too negatively or too instinctively, we actually shut down their drive to be autonomous because they're afraid to voice and express. And so that's a delicate balance. And really, I can say that I'm a better parent because of the tips and tricks I've learned from ABA. I'm not nearly as practiced as you. But just opening our eyes that it is behavior is a language, and learning to speak our language through actions and understand what that action means and the consequences of that language or behavior. I mean, that sounds like it's going to be a lifelong study. So
it is a lifelong study. And I love how you said, Nathan, ABA has made me a better father, has made me a better parent. A lot of these, I guess, tools or techniques, I use that with my kids, and they're not autistic, but they have their own issues. And, it's made me a better father. And I love your story, Rachel, about your son. The old you would have been like, because I would have done that. I'm like, hey, bud, you knew it.
Right.
But I loved how you were like, okay, let's think about why. I would have never, you know what I mean? I just think that was...
And I have to manage my expectations, and I need to pause. And there's times where even today, I'm human. I might be dysregulated myself. And then I see the laundry wasn't done. I'm just using that as an example.
No,
but I see that something wasn't done, and I might react very quickly to it. But now I need to be ready for what's to come of that. So I need to be more aware. I need to take that deep breath before I engage. I have to make sure that I'm in a place where if I can figure out, oh, that was actually never opened, I'm almost an investigator, right? Like, what's going on? And I can see that it wasn't open, then maybe I could say, oh, it looks like this was just on too tight. I got that for you. And I just model how to open it. I don't put any shame or I can't believe you didn't know how to open that.
You
Like,
don't know how to open
none of
it.
that comes out of my mouth, right? And so it's more like, oh, this just needs to be opened. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, you can do it. Like,
It's that adage from Stephen R. Covey: first seek to understand. Right. And I think if we're doing that analysis, that dive, what's going on first before we get reactive, before we choose the language we're going to convey, it makes it a lot healthier.
Yes, it does. Well, Rachel, that's all that we have for today. That was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Nathan, thank you so much for all of your insights, and thank you for everybody for listening to making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another conversation that inspires connection. We want to say thank you to our producer, Jesse Palmer, and our director, Dallin Davis. Until next time, let's go do some good.